Did you just get sued by HESA for a New Jersey class loan? Are you wondering whether there's anything you can do besides panic or ignore it? If so, this video is for you. Because I'm going to explain why doing nothing can make the situation much worse and how acting quickly may give you a chance to work out a payment plan before HESA gets a judgment against you. Coming up, I'm going to discuss three things. First, what happens if you ignore a HESA lawsuit. Second, whether you can get a payment plan before judgment is entered. And third, why you should get help instead of trying to negotiate this on your own. By the end of this video, you'll understand why doing nothing is dangerous, why timing matters, and why a payment plan may be the best way to keep the case from getting worse. A lot of people get court documents served on them or receive them in the mail, and they never even open the envelope. Not because they don't care, but because they're scared, overwhelmed, embarrassed, or they feel like there's nothing they can do anyway. But when it comes to a HESA lawsuit, ignoring the envelope doesn't protect you. It actually makes things worse. The first thing you need to understand is this. Once HESA sues you, this is no longer just a student loan problem. It's now a lawsuit. And if you do nothing, HESA can ask the court to enter a judgment against you by default. So before we talk about what you should do in response, let's talk about why this lawsuit itself has to be taken seriously. If HESA has sued you, it's not just another bill. It's not just another collection notice. It's a lawsuit filed in court, and that means there are deadlines, consequences, and a real risk that HESA can get a judgment if you do nothing. Now, you may be thinking, well, I borrowed the money, or I co-signed the loan, or I know it's past due, so what's the point of responding? But the lawsuit isn't just about whether the debt exists. It's about what HESA can do next if the case turns into a judgment. A lawsuit is different than a bill or a collection notice because it puts the court system into the process. And once that happens, doing nothing can move the case forward without you with serious consequences. In New Jersey, if you're served with a lawsuit, you have 35 days to respond. That's not just a HESA rule, that's the response deadline in New Jersey civil lawsuits. And it matters because if you do nothing, you lose by default. The 35-day deadline starts when you're served with a complaint. Waiting doesn't stop the clock. Being afraid doesn't stop the clock. Being confused doesn't stop the clock. And not opening the envelope doesn't stop the clock. A judgment is not just a piece of paper. It changes the balance of power. Before judgment, you may have more room to negotiate. After judgment, HESA may have strong collection tools like bank levies and wage garnishments, and much more leverage. Once that judgment is entered, HESA is in a stronger position. Now, does that mean you can never work something out later? No. You may be able to do so, but it may be harder. The goal is to avoid letting HESA get into the driver's seat. Before judgment, you may still have a chance to shape the outcome. After judgment, HESA may be the one shaping it for you. Once HESA gets a judgment, it can also record it as a lien against real estate. If you own a home, this lien can become a serious problem. If you later try to sell your home or refinance your mortgage, that lien may have to be addressed. That means money you expected to receive from the sale or refinance could instead be claimed to satisfy the judgment. And even if you make payments later, the lien can still create problems unless the agreement properly addresses it. Imagine this. You work out payments after the judgment is entered. You make those payments for years. Then one day you decide to sell your home. You get to closing and the judgment lien shows up. Now HESA may be standing there with its hand out looking for some or all the proceeds you thought were coming to you. That's why this can become much bigger than a student loan problem. The path can look like this: lawsuit, judgment, lien, sale or refinance problem. That's the chain reaction you're trying to avoid. Now, in many of these cases, the practical goal isn't to pretend that the loan doesn't exist. You borrowed the money or you co-signed for someone who did. The real question is this: can you deal with the lawsuit in a way that keeps things from getting worse? You may not have a legal defense for the debt, but taking action can mean facing the debt head on and trying to resolve the court case through payments. And that's important because a lot of people think they only have two choices. They either have to fight the debt completely or give up completely. That brings us to the third choice, the payment plan. The better approach is to try to negotiate an affordable payment plan before judgment is entered. That way, the case can potentially be resolved or held in place without immediately giving HESAA the benefit of a judgment, as long as you make the required payments. You may be able to negotiate monthly payments, but the agreement has to be realistic. It can't be based on wishful thinking. The goal is to avoid judgment while making consistent, affordable payments, and you need to understand what happens if you miss one or more. There's no use making a deal for payments when the deal isn't sustainable over the long term. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that everyone will get this result. Every case depends on the facts. But depending on the facts of your case, it may be possible to negotiate an affordable payment arrangement that avoids judgment as long as you make the payments required under the agreement. That's why getting help can matter. Negotiating with a law firm representing HESAA is not just about asking, can I make payments? It's about the amount, the timing, what happens with judgment, what happens if you miss a payment, and how the agreement is documented. The agreement should be written clearly. Court-filed documents matter, and the terms should protect the borrower or cosigner as much as possible. That's a lot to consider, and a lot that can potentially go wrong. But you don't have to call the collection lawyer alone. I've negotiated countless deals with HESAA's attorneys on New Jersey lawsuits that lead to affordable payments and legal protections for the borrower. If you've been sued by HESAA here in New Jersey, then the best thing to do is to face it head on. Click the link in the description below to schedule a call with me. I'll discuss your case and advise as to whether an affordable payment plan is a possibility.